Power belonged to the ancient races. Rule 2. New species survived only by obedience. Rule 3. No one challenged the Dominion and lived. The Galactic Dominion was not a single empire, but a council of the oldest and strongest civilizations. The Ketheri, tall and crystalline, masters of energy. The Virex swarm, hive-minded strategists with fleets beyond counting. The Ilari Concord, calm and ancient, who bent gravity like soft clay. Together they ruled known space. And then there were the humans. Earth sat on the edge of mapped territory, a blue-green world orbiting a quiet yellow star. When Dominion scouts first discovered it, they almost ignored it. Humans had only just mastered faster-than-light travel. Their ships were crude metal shells compared to the living hulls of the Virex or the shining constructs of the Ketheri. Their weapons used chemical reactions and primitive railguns. Their politics were loud, divided, and chaotic. A junior Ketheri observer summarized humanity in a single sentence. They are clever animals. Nothing more. So the Dominion made a decision. Humans would not be destroyed. That would waste resources. Instead, they would be contained. A border was drawn. Human expansion was limited to 12 systems. Trade was allowed but tightly controlled. Military development was advised against. Dominion ambassadors arrived on Earth, speaking softly, smiling with alien patience. "You are not ready," they said. "The galaxy is dangerous," they warned. "Trust us," they insisted. Human leaders listened. And then they smiled back. Admiral Elias Rourke stood in the war room beneath Geneva, hands clasped behind his back. A hologram of known space hovered in the air, Dominion territory glowing red, human systems blue. "They think we're children," said Director Amara Chin of Earth Intelligence. "They think we're pets," Rourke replied. Around the table sat scientists, generals, economists, and engineers. No shouting. No panic. Just quiet focus. "So," Chin asked, "what do we do?" Rourke looked at the stars. "We learn." For 50 years, humanity played the role assigned to them. Their diplomats nodded politely in Dominion chambers. Their traders accepted unfair deals. Their colonies grew slowly, carefully, never crossing the red lines. But beneath the surface, something else was happening. Human scientists studied alien technology obsessively. They didn't try to copy it directly, that would fail. Instead, they asked different questions. Why does it work? What assumptions does it rely on? What happens if those assumptions are wrong? Where the Ketheri relied on perfect energy control, humans built systems that worked even when damaged. Where the Ulari used precise gravity manipulation, humans used brute force mathematics and redundancy. Where the Virex trusted hive coordination, humans trained independent commanders who could act alone if cut off. Human ships became ugly, armored beasts. They carried more ammunition than necessary. More reactors than required. Backup systems for backup systems. Alien observers laughed. "Inefficient," said a Virex analyst. "Wasteful," said a Ketheri engineer. Humans called it survival. The first test came sooner than expected. At the edge of Dominion space, a minor species called the Thaurex rebelled. They were insect-like, desperate, starving under Dominion taxation. They struck a trade hub and were crushed in days. The Dominion decided to make an example. A Thaurex colony world was selected for punishment. Human space lay closest. Dominion fleets moved through human territory without asking. That was normal. What was not normal was what they found. A human fleet was already there. 20 ships. Small. Dark. Silent. Dominion Commander Vaylor of the Ketheri opened a channel, annoyed. "Human Admiral," Vaylor said coldly, light shimmering through his crystalline form. "You are obstructing a lawful Dominion operation. Move aside." Admiral Rourke appeared on the screen. Older now. Eyes sharp. "No," Rourke said. The word echoed through the command decks of 100 alien ships. Vaylor paused, confused. "This is not a negotiation," the Ketheri said. "You lack authority. You lack power." Rourke leaned forward slightly. "You're wrong," he said calmly. "We lack permission." "That's different." Behind Rourke, human ships powered up. Dominion sensors blinked. Human vessels were emitting signals, strange, layered emissions that didn't match known weapon profiles. "Explain your intentions," Vaylor demanded. Rourke's voice was steady. "The Thaurex are under human protection," he said. "Leave. Now." Silence. Then laughter rippled through Dominion channels. A Virex submind spoke, amusement thick in its tone. "You threaten the Dominion with 20 ships?" Rourke nodded once. "Yes." The Dominion fired first. They always did. Energy lances flashed across space, brilliant and precise. They hit. And human ships did not die. Armor layers vaporized. Sections tore away. Fires bloomed. But the ships kept moving. Human railguns answered. Chunks of metal, accelerated to impossible speeds, tore through alien shields never designed to stop physical mass. One Virex cruiser split open like a fruit. A Kethri escort shattered, its crystal matrix collapsing. Confusion spread. What weapons are those? Why are their ships still operational? Target their command vessel. Rourke watched calmly as alarms screamed around him. Deploy Phase 2, he said. Human ships changed. Panels unfolded. New systems activated. Signals shifted. The Dominion realized too late. These were not exploration ships. They were prototypes. And this was not a protest. It was a message. As the first Dominion capital ship went dark, the galaxy began to understand. Humans were not quiet because they were weak. They were quiet because they were waiting. The battle at Thaurex Prime lasted only 12 minutes. That was all it took to fracture centuries of Dominion certainty. When the last Kethri ship disengaged and jumped away, space was littered with wreckage, crystalline shards, burning hive hulls, frozen debris spinning in silence. Human ships remained, scarred and bleeding atmosphere, but alive. Admiral Elias Rourke stood on the bridge of the HNS Resolute as emergency lights flickered. Casualty report, he said. 7 ships heavily damaged. 2 lost, an officer replied. But, Dominion losses confirmed. At least 9 destroyed, including 1 command cruiser. A murmur spread across the bridge. No cheers. No celebration. Rourke closed his eyes briefly. Send medical aid to the Thaurex surface, he ordered. And transmit a message to the Dominion Council. What should it say, sir? Rourke opened his eyes. It says, humanity does not fire first. But we always finish. Across the galaxy, panic traveled faster than light. Dominion sensor records were replayed again and again. Analysts froze frames, dissected trajectories, and argued furiously in council chambers carved from stone, crystal, and gravity wells. This was impossible. Human technology should not have breached Dominion shields. Their ships should not have remained functional after direct energy strikes. Their command structure should have collapsed under pressure. Yet it hadn't. The Ilari Concord convened an emergency session. Their representatives floated within a sphere of warped spacetime, voices calm but heavy. The humans adapted mid-battle, one Ilari elder observed. They changed emission patterns. They reconfigured armor density in real time. A learning combat algorithm? Asked another. No, the elder replied slowly. A learning species. The Virex swarm reacted differently. Within hours, thousands of Virex vessels began massing near human borders. The swarm did not feel fear, but it recognized inefficiency. And humans had become inefficient to ignore. On Earth, the news was not public. Not yet. Only a handful of leaders knew how close the galaxy stood to war. Director Amara Chen paced beneath the United Earth Assembly, watching holographic projections of Dominion fleet movements. They're repositioning, she said. Testing us. Probing reactions. Rourke stood beside her. They won't rush, he said. They don't understand us well enough. And when they do? Rourke smiled faintly. Then they'll panic. Humanity's greatest weapon was not its ships. It was its memory. Every human commander studied not just alien tactics but alien history. Dominion species fought wars rarely. When they did, they relied on overwhelming superiority in ancient doctrine. Humans had fought each other for thousands of years. They knew deception, attrition, feints, sacrifice. They knew how to lose battles to win wars. So humanity did something that confused the galaxy. They pulled back. Human fleets retreated from border systems. Outposts were evacuated. Trade routes were abandoned. Dominion observers relaxed. They have learned their place, said a Kethri diplomat. But hidden in the dark, human engineers worked. New shipyards bloomed inside asteroid belts, masked by radiation storms. Civilian vessels were quietly refitted with weapon mounts. AI systems were trained on alien behavior models, not to predict, but to mislead. Human scientists cracked alien physics not by copying it, but by breaking its rules. When Kethri energy weapons overloaded gracefully, humans forced overloads to cascade catastrophically. When Olari gravity fields were stable, humans destabilized spacetime locally, turning precision into chaos. Every Dominion strength became a dependency. Every dependency became a weakness. The second clash came at Caro's Drift, a region of twisted stars and warped gravity. A Virex scouting force entered human-claimed space. This time humans did not warn them. Human ships emerged from the shadows, fewer than expected. The Virex advanced, confident. Then space itself betrayed them. Gravity wells ignited around the swarm formation, artificial and violent. Virex coordination fractured as hive signals lagged and echoed. Human ships struck from impossible angles. Not with brute force, with timing. Railgun rounds detonated inside gravity distortions, accelerating unpredictably. Virex ships collided with each other. Command nodes went silent. A Virex submine screamed across open channels. "This is not optimal. This is not possible." The transmission cut off. When the battle ended, the drift belonged to humanity, and the swarm began to feel something new. Uncertainty. The Dominion Council could no longer deny reality. They summoned the human ambassador. Ambassador Sofia Alvarez walked alone into the Grand Chamber, a vast hall where stars themselves were used as light sources. She was small compared to the towering aliens around her. But she did not bow. Valor of the Kethri addressed her, voice sharp with restrained anger. "You have violated treaties, disrupted order, killed Dominion citizens." Alvarez met his gaze. "You entered our space without consent. You attempted genocide," she replied. "We stopped you." "You are dangerous," Valor hissed. "Unstable." Alvarez nodded. "Yes," she said simply. "We are." The chamber fell silent. She continued. "You built a galaxy where power excuses cruelty, where strength replaces morality. Humans do not accept that." "And what will you do?" asked an Ilari elder. "Rule us." Alvarez smiled sadly. "No," she said. "We will change you." As she turned to leave, alarms rang throughout the chamber. Dominion sensors screamed warnings. Human fleets were moving. Not defensively, not cautiously, but strategically, toward key Dominion infrastructure. Shipyards, relay nodes, command nexuses. Humanity was no longer reacting. It was planning. And for the first time in its long history, the Dominion faced an enemy that did not seek to conquer space, but to redefine it. Far from Earth, in a hidden facility beyond mapped stars, Admiral Rourke watched new ships power up. Massive, silent, purpose-built. A young officer beside him asked quietly, "Sir, are we ready?" Rourke looked at the galaxy-wide map, red territories flickering. "No," he said honestly. Then he smiled. "But neither are they." The war did not begin with a declaration. It began with silence. Across Dominion space, relays flickered. Not destroyed, confused. Messages arrived seconds late. Then minutes. Then not at all. Fleets jumped according to schedules written centuries ago, only to arrive in empty systems where stars burned but commands did not. The Dominion had never fought a war like this. They were used to resistance that broke quickly, enemies who charged or surrendered. Humans did neither. They vanished. Supreme Strategist Threxvo of the Virex swarm studied the data streams pouring into the hive mind. Patterns overlapped. Predictions failed. Human fleets avoid direct engagement, a submind reported. They strike logistics then withdraw. Correction, Threxvo replied. They strike understanding. Human attacks did not focus on ships alone. They targeted navigation beacons, translation nodes, cultural archives. Entire Dominion sectors woke to find their historical data corrupted. Not erased but subtly altered. Star maps conflicted. Old alliances clashed over contradictory records. Trust began to rot. The Dominion accused humans of chaos warfare. Humans called it education. At the edge of Ilari space, a human task force appeared without warning. Only 8 ships. Ilari defenders formed precise gravity lattices, beautiful and deadly. Admiral Rourke watched from his flagship. "Hold fire," he ordered. Ilari weapons activated, bending spacetime into crushing waves. Human ships did not dodge. They fell apart. Sections detached, drifting like debris. The Ilari assumed victory, until the debris ignited. Each fragment was a drone. Each drone carried a singularity charge tuned to destabilize Ilari gravity math. Space screamed. Ilari lattices collapsed inward, tearing their own ships apart. An Ilari commander transmitted in disbelief. "You weaponize failure?" Rourke answered calmly. "We weaponize reality," he said. The galaxy began to whisper. Independent species, long crushed under Dominion rule, watched humans strike not at populations, but at power structures. Humans liberated prison worlds. restored stolen resources, then left. No occupation, no tribute, just a single message broadcast in dozens of languages. You are not alone anymore. Hope spread faster than fear. That terrified the Dominion more than any fleet. In the Dominion Council, Vaylor's crystal form cracked visibly under stress. They are not conquering, he said. They are infecting. The Ilari elder floated silently before speaking. Humans are forcing us to adapt, it said. And we do not know how. The Virex representative pulsed angrily. The swarm adapts always. Then why, the elder asked, are you losing? Silence followed. Humanity paid a price. Colonies burned. Millions died when Dominion fleets finally struck civilian targets. Earth itself was attacked, once. A Kethari spear fleet emerged near Sol, energy weapons charging. They never fired. Human planetary defenses activated something the Dominion had never imagined. The sun dimmed. For 3 terrifying seconds, Sol's output dropped as human arrays siphoned stellar energy directly into space. Not as a weapon but as a signal. Every sensor in the system was blinded. When vision returned, the Kethari fleet was gone. Not destroyed. Displaced. Scattered across light years of empty void. A message followed, calm and precise. This was a warning. Director Amara Chen watched the aftermath from Earth orbit. We crossed a line, she said quietly. Rourke stood beside her. They crossed it first, he replied. We just showed them there are consequences. The turning point came at the world of Narrations, a Dominion core planet. Shipyards, academies, billions of citizens. The Dominion expected a human invasion. Instead, humans sent one ship. A diplomatic vessel. Ambassador Sofia Alvarez stood before the Planetary Council, unarmed. We do not want your world, she said. We want your choice. You threaten us with annihilation, a Kethari governor snapped. No, Alvarez replied. We threaten you with freedom. Above the planet, hidden human fleets activated. Not weapons. Jammers. Every Dominion control signal went dead. Local systems took over. For the first time in millennia, Narrations governed itself, even if only for an hour. When control was restored, nothing had been destroyed. But everything had changed. Riots broke out, not against humans but against Dominion overseers. The idea spread like fire. Back in deep space, Admiral Rourke received a report. Sir, an officer said, voice shaking. Dominion fleets are regrouping. All of them. They're preparing a final strike. Rourke nodded. Good, he said. He turned to the assembled commanders, human and alien alike. Former subjects, rebels, allies. This is the moment, he said. They think this war is about territory. About ships. He looked at the galaxy map, now fractured, colors bleeding together. It's not, he continued. It's about who decides the future. A young Thalrex commander clicked nervously. And if we lose? Rourke met its eyes. Then we make them remember us forever. Far away, the Dominion launched everything it had. Ancient dreadnoughts. Living fleets. Gravity titans. A force meant to end a species. Human sensors tracked the armada. No retreat orders were given. Instead, humanity revealed its final preparation. Deep within black space, something enormous began to move. Something the Dominion had never seen. Something built not for dominance, but for inevitability. As the galaxy held its breath, one truth became clear. This was no longer a war humans hoped to survive. It was a war they intended to finish. The Dominion armada moved like a living storm. Millions of ships crossed hyperspace lanes in perfect formation. Kethari energy spires glowing like newborn stars, Virex high fleets rippling as one mind, Ulari gravity titans warping space with every motion. This was power refined over hundreds of thousands of years. This was extermination. Dominion strategists were confident. Humans had clever tricks, yes. But tricks did not stop inevitability. Numbers did not lie. Physics did not bend forever. They would crush Earth, burn its colonies, and carve the lesson into history. What they did not know was that humanity had already chosen the battlefield. The system was called Helios Reach. An empty place. No habitable worlds. Only a dying blue star surrounded by shattered planets and dense debris fields. Useless. Forgotten. The Dominion followed the human fleets there eagerly. Human ships appeared scattered, retreating, damaged. A classic collapse. Cornered, Vaylor declared from the command nexus. Finish this. The armada advanced. And space closed. At the heart of Helios Reach, humanity activated Project Aegis Null. The blue star screamed. Human constructs buried deep within its core ignited, turning stellar fusion unstable, not explosive but controlled. Gravity wells bloomed across the system, artificial and layered, overlapping like nets. Hyperspace failed. Jump drives died. Every Dominion ship was trapped. Confusion erupted. Navigation failure. Gravity fluctuations exceed tolerance. This is impossible. Stars cannot be used. Admiral Rourke's face appeared on every open channel. Come, human. Welcome to Helios Reach, he said. You brought gods to a human trap. The Dominion attacked immediately. Energy weapons tore through debris fields. Gravity titans tried to stabilize space. But the system itself fought back. Human ships did not engage directly. Instead they guided. Asteroids were nudged into paths that shattered shield formations. Magnetic storms were triggered at precise moments, frying coordination nodes. False signals lured entire fleets into gravity collapses that crushed ships without firing a shot. The Virex swarm panicked as hive coherence fractured under layered signal interference. We cannot think together, a submind cried. Then think alone, Threxvo ordered. Too late. Humans had trained for exactly that moment. Independent strike groups hunted disoriented swarm clusters, attacking command ships, then vanishing into the wreckage. The Kethri tried to adapt, restructuring energy matrices. Humans destabilized them again. Every solution met a counter. Not because humans predicted the Dominion, but because they predicted change itself. In the depths of the system, the Olari made a desperate decision. They activated the Grave Mind, an ancient construct forbidden by their own laws. Space twisted violently as the Grave Mind tried to overwrite human gravity fields. For a moment it worked. Human ships buckled. Several were torn apart. Then something unexpected happened. The Grave Mind learned. And immediately collapsed. Human engineers had seeded it with recursive paradoxes. Logical traps that forced the ancient AI to question its own axioms until it froze. The Olari elder whispered in horror. They turned our God against itself. On Earth, civilians watched emergency broadcasts as the sun flickered strangely. The strain of Aegis Null was enormous. Director Amara Chin spoke quietly to Rourke over a secure channel. If the star collapses, the system dies, she warned. Including your fleets. Rourke nodded. I know. Then why? Because, he said softly, they would have done the same to us. Without hesitation. The Dominion finally realized the truth. This was not a battle. It was an execution of doctrine. Everything they believed about warfare, superiority, control, inevitability, was being dismantled piece by piece. Vaylor opened a private channel to Rourke. You will doom us all, the Kethri said, crystal form fractured and dim. You cannot control forces like this. Rourke's reply was immediate. No, he agreed. We can't. Pause. But we can endure them. Human losses mounted. Ships were destroyed. Lives were lost. And humanity kept going. Because they always had. In the final phase, humans unveiled the last layer of the trap. The black silence. Across Helios Reach, every active Dominion sensor suddenly went dark. Not jammed, not destroyed, simply overwhelmed by human signals carrying pure noise, generated by quantum randomness beyond alien comprehension. Blind. Isolated. Human fleets struck. Not everywhere. Just enough. Key command vessels vanished. Strategic hubs collapsed. Leadership died or surrendered. The armada broke, not all at once but inevitably. When the Blue Star finally stabilized, Helios Reach was a graveyard. Millions of ships drifted powerless. The Dominion had not been annihilated. It had been broken. In the aftermath, Ambassador Sofia Alvarez stood before the surviving Dominion Council. You have a choice, she said. End the Dominion. Or watch it collapse anyway. Vaylor bowed. Not in submission. In understanding. The galaxy will never be the same, he said. Alvarez nodded. That was the point. Far away, hidden beyond known space, the massive construct humanity had been moving finally came into view. A structure the size of a moon. Not a weapon. A promise. Rourke looked at it and whispered. We survived monsters long before we reached the stars. The galaxy, watching in stunned silence, finally understood the truth. Humans did not seek to become gods. They had learned how to kill them. Helios Reach did not end the war. It ended certainty. Across known space, the Dominion's defeat spread like a seismic wave. Not through official announcements. Those were delayed, censored, rewritten, but through absence. Fleets that never returned. Commands that went unanswered. Trade convoys that waited forever at dead relays. The galaxy felt it, and it fractured. On worlds long ruled by Dominion overseers, governors vanished overnight. Some fled. Some were killed. Some simply removed their insignia and pretended they had never worn it. Old client species gathered in secret councils. Some whispered the word human like a prayer. Others like a curse. Because humanity did not arrive as conquerors. They arrived as variables. Admiral Rourke stood aboard the HNS Resolute, staring at a map that no longer made sense. Borders blurred. Power centers flickered. "Status report," he said. A young officer hesitated. "Sir, there are uprisings in over 40 sectors. Independent fleets are requesting guidance." "Are they asking for orders?" Rourke asked. "No," the officer said. "They're asking what comes next." Rourke exhaled slowly. "Tell them," he said, "that they decide." That answer terrified humanity's allies, and its enemies. Without the Dominion's iron structure, ancient grudges resurfaced. Old wars reignited. Species that had never governed themselves stumbled. The Ulari Concord split in two, one faction seeking cooperation with humans, the other retreating into isolation. The Virex swarm fragmented as independent nodes broke free from central control, some hostile, some curious. The galaxy was no longer stable. And many blamed humanity. On Earth, protests filled the streets. Not against aliens, but against human leadership. "We didn't ask to rule the stars. End the war. Bring our fleets home." Director Amara Chen watched the crowds from a secure balcony. "We did what we had to," she said quietly. Rourke stood beside her, eyes tired. "I know," he replied. "But victory doesn't feel like peace." The Dominion remnants made one last move. In secret, surviving Kethari and Ulari leaders gathered around a final project. The Continuum Engine. An ancient device capable of resetting large regions of spacetime to a previous stable configuration. Not time travel. Erasure. If activated, it would wipe out every system destabilized by the war, including Earth. Better a dead galaxy than a human one. Human intelligence discovered the plot too late. The engine was hidden beyond the galactic rim, guarded by what remained of the Dominion's most loyal fleets. Rourke was summoned to Earth for a final decision. "We can stop it," Chen said. "But only with a direct strike." "How many?" Rourke asked. "Everything," she answered. Silence filled the room. "If we fail," Chen continued, "there is no second chance." Rourke closed his eyes. "Then we don't fail." The Allied fleet that assembled was unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Humans, Thaurax, breakaway Virex nodes, Ulari reformists, even former Dominion captains who chose survival over pride. It was messy, loud, chaotic, human. As they jumped toward the galactic rim, a Thaurax commander clicked nervously. "Admiral, do you believe we can win?" Rourke looked at the assembled fleet. "No," he said honestly. "But we can end this." The Continuum engine loomed in the void like a wound in reality. Space warped around it, history itself straining to snap back. Dominion defenders attacked without hesitation. This battle was brutal. No traps. No tricks. Just survival. Human ships led the charge, absorbing fire meant for allies. Railguns tore through ancient hulls. Boarding teams fought in zero gravity, human soldiers adapting instantly to alien environments. Rourke watched casualties climb. "Push through," he ordered. "All units, ignore losses." Chen's voice came through the channel, steady despite the chaos. "Engine charging. 30 seconds. "Then we have 30 seconds, Rourke replied. A Dominion flagship moved to block the final approach. Valor stood on its bridge, crystal body cracked and dim. "This ends now," he said over open comms. "You have broken the galaxy." Rourke answered, voice raw. "No," he said. "We showed it the truth." Valor hesitated. Then he ordered his fleet to stand down. The path opened. Human strike teams breached the engine core. Reality twisted violently as the device destabilized. "Overload initiated," a soldier shouted. "We need to get out." Rourke stayed. "Admiral," Chen yelled. "You have to evacuate." Rourke looked at the collapsing construct. "If it resets," he said, "none of this mattered." He transmitted one final command. "Detonate Aegis core." The explosion did not look like fire. It looked like finality. The Continuum engine collapsed into itself, taking Dominion fleets with it, sealing the wound in spacetime forever. Human fleets barely escaped the blast. Barely. When the silence returned, the war was over. The Dominion was gone. Not replaced. Just gone. Weeks later, Ambassador Sofia Alvarez addressed the galaxy. "We will not rule you," she said. "We will not save you. We will stand with you, if you choose. No threats. No demands. Just a choice." Rourke stood on Earth's surface for the first time in years, watching the sky. Chin joined him. "The galaxy is afraid of us," she said. Rourke nodded. "They should be," he replied softly. "But not because we are cruel." He looked up at the stars. "But because we endure." The war was over. That did not mean the galaxy was at peace. Across thousands of systems, worlds struggled to breathe without the Dominion's shadow. Trade routes had collapsed. Defense networks lay in ruins. Ancient enemies now shared borders with no rules between them. And in every corner of space, one question echoed. What are humans now? On the ocean world of Talaris, representatives from over 200 species gathered for the first galactic conclave. No throne. No council of elders. Just a vast ring-shaped station drifting above endless blue seas. Humans did not host the conclave. They were invited. That alone unsettled everyone. Ambassador Sofia Alvarez arrived aboard a single unarmed vessel. No escorts. No hidden fleets. Her presence caused ripples of tension. Some species watched with awe. Others with hatred. Many with fear. Because everyone remembered Helios' reach. The first speaker was an Alari reformist, gravity folding gently around its form. The Dominion imposed order through fear, it said. Humans destroyed that order. What do you offer instead? Alvarez did not answer immediately. She looked around the chamber. At first, she said slowly, we offered survival. That was enough. Murmurs spread. Now? Asked a Virex Freenode, its voice fragmented but curious. Now, Alvarez said, we offer responsibility. Silence. The accusations came quickly after. You destabilized the galaxy. You unleashed wars you walked away from. You claim you do not rule, yet your fleets are everywhere. Alvarez raised a hand. Our fleets protect trade lanes at your request, she said calmly. They leave when asked. We do not install governors. We do not demand tribute. And if someone challenges you? A reptilian warlord sneered. Alvarez met his gaze. Then, she said softly, we respond. The implication hung heavy. Far from the conclave, Admiral Rourke stood aboard a quiet observation station near Seoul. His hair was fully gray now. His body carried the weight of command. Director Chin joined him. They're afraid, she said. They should be, Rourke replied. Fear keeps people honest. Chin studied him. You don't sound proud. Rourke exhaled. I'm tired, he said. And tired people make mistakes. The conclave reached its breaking point when a minor species made a bold move. The Krith, small, technologically weak, once protected by the Dominion. Their delegate floated forward. Humans claim to value choice, it said. Then answer this, what right did you have to decide our fate? The chamber froze. Alvarez did not deflect. You're right, she said. Gasps echoed. We did decide, she continued, because the alternative was extinction. Yours, ours, everyone's. The Krith trembled. And if the Dominion had never turned on you? Alvarez's voice softened. Then we might still be quiet, she said. The conclave recessed without resolution. That night something happened. A fleet of unknown origin emerged from beyond mapped space. No known signatures. No recognizable design. They attacked without warning. Worlds burned. Entire systems went dark. Panic erupted. The enemy called themselves the Ascended. They were ancient, patient, and they had been watching. Through the chaos, a single message echoed across all frequencies. The galaxy has proven unworthy of stability. We will correct it. The conclave reconvened in terror. Human ships were already moving. Admiral Rourke took command again. Reluctantly. Enemy capabilities? He asked. Unknown, an analyst replied. Their weapons ignore conventional defenses. Rourke nodded. Good, he said. That means they're not invincible. The first clash was devastating. Ascended vessels phased through attacks, rewriting local physics. Entire human squadrons vanished in flashes of unreality. Human losses were heavy. But humans learned. Survivors adapted tactics mid-battle, switching to probability-based targeting, flooding spacetime with noise and unpredictability. Ascended formations faltered. They are interfering with causality, an ascended voice hissed. Yes, Rourke replied over open comms. We do that. As battles raged, the galaxy watched. Humans did not retreat. They did not escalate recklessly. They coordinated with alien allies, shared data freely, took the hardest hits. For the first time, humanity fought not for dominance, but for everyone. During the final engagement near Talaris, an ascended entity opened a channel to Alvarez. "You are chaos," it said. "You disrupt cycles meant to endure." Alvarez's reply was calm. "Cycles that require suffering deserve disruption." "You will burn out," the entity warned. "Like all violent species." Alvarez smiled. "We already did," she said. "And we came back." Human scientists discovered the Ascended's flaw. They existed partly outside normal reality, relying on predictability to anchor themselves. Humans introduced choice. Massive decentralized commands. Randomized decisions. Individual initiative at every level. The Ascended could not model it. They began to fail. As the Ascended retreated, the galaxy realized something profound. Humanity was not the strongest, not the oldest, not the most advanced, but they were the only ones who could fight gods, and still ask if they should. The conclave reconvened one last time. This time the vote was unanimous. Humanity would not rule. Humanity would guard. Not as kings. As sentinels. Admiral Rourke watched Earth rise over the horizon. Chin stood beside him. "So," she said, "what are we?" Rourke thought for a long moment. "Still human," he said. "And that's enough." The galaxy was quiet. Not peaceful. Quiet. A fragile pause after centuries of war, upheaval, and collapse. Systems were rebuilding, fleets repairing, alliances forming, but everyone knew the truth: humans were watching. And the moment everyone realized that, fear became respect. Admiral Elias Rourke stood on the bridge of the HNS Resolute, now a relic of past battles yet still operational. Its hull bore scars from every engagement since Helios Reach. Around him the Allied fleet assembled, human, Thaurex, Virex defectors and Olari reformists. Thousands of ships, unified not by hierarchy but by understanding. A young human officer approached. "Sir, the Ascended?" Rourke shook his head. "They won't return. Not unless someone fails to remember why humans survive." Across the galaxy, alien species were recalibrating their perception of humanity. The Ketheri, once arrogant and imperious, studied human tactics and marveled. "They do not fear death," one elder admitted. "They do not seek glory. They adapt everything." The Virex subminds whispered in fragmented tones, reassessing centuries of assumed superiority. "Independence is strength," one concluded. "They are chaos perfected." Even the Ulari, who bent spacetime itself, had begun to teach their young of human strategies. Unconventional, ruthless, precise, yet tempered with a morality no other species fully understood. For the first time, the galaxy understood something terrifying. Humans did not need to dominate to command respect. The final council convened on Talaris, the ocean world that had become neutral ground. Ambassador Sofia Alvarez faced the representatives from the remaining Dominion factions, free species, and even some former Ascended observers. She spoke softly but with an authority that carried across the chamber. "Humans are not gods. We do not demand loyalty. We do not seek your surrender. But know this: we survive. And we endure. Those who threaten life, freedom, or truth will find that our endurance is endless, and our consequences inevitable." The room fell silent. No one spoke. Even the most defiant species could feel the weight of the words. Because humans were not boasting. They were stating fact. Far from Talaris, in the Outer Rim, a Dominion warship's captain recorded a private message. "We underestimated them. We thought control would suffice. We thought superior technology would suffice. We were wrong. The humans, they are an apex species not because they are the strongest, but because they cannot be stopped once they choose their course. They survive everything. They adapt to everything. They endure. And that terrifies me." Across the galaxy, this sentiment repeated in whispers, reports, and encrypted channels. The moment humanity does not seek war but stands prepared for it, that is the moment the galaxy learned to fear humans. Back on the Resolute, Rourke and Chin stood overlooking the fleet. Chin sighed. "Do you think the galaxy will ever truly understand us?" Rourke shook his head, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "No," he said. "And that's why it works. They respect what they cannot fully grasp. They fear what they cannot control. And that keeps everyone honest." The stars stretched out before them, familiar and yet transformed. Human fleets patrolled quietly, trade lanes open, colonies thriving, but every eye in the galaxy knew that somewhere beyond the visible horizon humans waited, always ready, always calculating. And humanity's story was far from over. Then came the subtle, almost imperceptible shift in galactic politics. Former enemies began requesting alliances. Trade networks stabilized under human protection. Rebel factions that had resisted centuries of Dominion rule sought guidance rather than conquest. Every act of human leadership emphasized choice, autonomy, and survival, but the unspoken truth remained: cross-humanity and the consequences were absolute. In a quiet moment, Rourke received a transmission from a young Ketheri officer. "Admiral, your people fought like no one else we have ever known. You are different. I do not know if I respect you or fear you. Perhaps both." Rourke leaned back. "Good," he said. "That's exactly the point. The galaxy's fear was not born from hate. It was born from certainty. The certainty that humans would adapt. That humans would endure. That humans would prevail. Sometimes with weapons, sometimes with strategy, sometimes with patience measured in decades. And the most terrifying truth of all? Humanity did not need to destroy. It only needed to exist. On Earth, Rourke and Chen stood on the surface looking up at the night sky. Lights of human colonies blinked in orbit, fleets patrolled silently, children dreamed freely below. Chen asked quietly, "Do you think it's over?" Rourke shook his head slowly. "No, it never is. But the galaxy, it has learned something. And that will last longer than any war." A small smile broke across Chen's face. "Then humanity has truly won." Rourke's eyes scanned the stars. "Not won," he said softly. "Endured. And sometimes, enduring is more powerful than any victory." He turned to look at the horizon, where the faint glow of distant stars promised unknown threats, unknown challenges. And the galaxy will never forget it. In the darkness of space, beyond Dominion ruins, past fractured worlds, humanity's fleets moved silently. Ships of every class, armored behemoths, stealth frigates, scout vessels, patrolled with a single purpose: vigilance. Not conquest. Not rule. Not revenge. Survival. Adaptation. Supremacy and potential. And that was enough. The galaxy had learned the truth. The galaxy had learned fear. The galaxy had learned humans.